Hello, and thank you for joining me as I show you the very intimate behind the scenes look of my 2026 art collection. This week, I believe we're on week 5, and this week we are prepping panels. I know that doesn't sound very exciting, but I am a watercolorist, and instead of doing it on paper, I am going to be doing it on panel boards. There's a few different ways that you can prep a panel, and this time around I'm doing clay board, and I'm really excited, and I can't wait to show you kind of just how it's all going to be done. And I hope that you learn from me and kind of get some tips and tricks on how to even do this yourself, especially if you are a watercolorist and you want to kind of expand your medium and what you're painting on and try some new things.
Welcome to my channel.
If you weren't here from the very beginning, no worries. All I did was start from the very week 1 of just all the thumbnails, kind of getting all my ideas put together for this collection of 6 paintings. And I basically have taken you through all the drawings and the process until we're at this point of prepping the panels. I have them in my possession, and I am putting my recipe on top of these and prepping them. And it's going to take a little time to curate. And then I'm going to explain kind of my next steps. And then we're going to get into the fun part, which is the painting. I have another panel, and it's time to prep this one with some clay board. I'm heating up my clay board recipe in this pan with some water, getting it low. Right now it's kind of like a gelatin, so you can see it. Ew. Ho, ho, ho. And once it's warm enough, it'll turn into a liquid again, and then it'll be good for me to put on my board. I have a really cheap Mimic goat hair brush. It's like 2 3/8. This I have found to be a really great tool to use to apply my clay board or even gesso. It might be a little too soft for gesso, but for clay, it's excellent. It's just thin enough. It's definitely very soft. It doesn't leave really any streaks. Yeah. All right, got it in my warm water. Just gonna put that top on. Really, I just want it to keep from solidifying. Next, I'm gonna take my spray. This is just like a regular old hairspray container. It's great. And then I'm just gonna damp this, get it all nice and wet, and then I'm gonna damp my brush and start applying my clay board recipe. Got my clay board recipe on that brush. It's looking good. And I'm gonna try to do this with one hand. Might not be able to. Gotta be kind of quick. And it's just gonna be a really thin application. And since I got my board wet, my brush is wet, the clay board recipe is rather thin. I've already added my water to it that I need. And it's almost like I'm just glossing something. Gotta make sure I'm going all the way to the ends. And there's little granules, but I can sand those out. I think that's the challenging thing right now that I'm having with my homemade recipe is how do I get these little grains of the clay or even the chalk out? I either need to strain it or maybe really mix it well with like a blender or something. Let that sit. Don't want to go over it too much. And I'm gonna clean my brush and then kind of redo the process of using the spray, wet the brush, and then reapply. And I gotta keep this warm and covered. BRB. I just sprayed my surface. It's nice and glossy. This had dried, and now I'm about to put on another layer. I'm gonna go in the opposite direction. I might need to put some more water in my clay board recipe. I don't really know what's going on. I got a little bit of separation happening. Kind of happened when I brushed it on. Maybe the clay of this layer was too thick. I'm gonna sand this. I'm gonna let it dry a little bit longer, sand it, and then go for my third. I think this was my third layer. So I got 2 more layers technically. So I think I'll be okay. I just gotta keep watering it down. My 2 large panels are out for delivery today, and I keep like looking out the window like a dog. I'm so excited, but it's also supposed to rain. So I'm like, okay, gotta time it, get here in like an hour, get them inside, and then I'm gonna start making, I'm already putting down my clay bowl recipe for my other ones, and then I'll be applying my recipe to those big panels. That way I have time to cure everything. So this week is just a lot of prep, and I have to kind of let them sit for a while. So yeah, not that exciting, but it's exciting to have everything on hand. So that's exciting.
What?
My package came!
Ooh, packages!
I gotta bring it inside though. Okay, it's got a cool handle on it. Here we go. Wow, just look at it. Okay, this should have both my panels inside, and I think this should be just easy enough to like rip off the cardboard. All right, I'm gonna do that. Here we go. Wow. The grain on this is wild. I kind of want to just like paint the grain. It's so cool. But that is not the mission. You can kind of get an idea of the size. This is beautiful. It's going to be so nice. Here's the back side. Pretty standard. Nothing crazy. And this is just a panel. I got a canvas lot. And this is how it was like tucked inside, both of them together. Same deal for this one. Got a couple of additions, some cardboard for cushioning, and hardware to hang it. Well, cool. Success. Here's an idea of what it's gonna look like. I know it's kind of hard to imagine when there's like so many lines happening everywhere. But yeah, this is a square. This will be just like a perfect circle in the middle. It's gonna look so nice. I think by the time I get it down, I'll probably readjust a few things. Like I feel like this is breaking out a little too far that way, and maybe this needs to kind of go out a little that way. I like the chaos of it. So, and once again, here's this one. Yeah, I think you get an idea what this is going to look like. Cool. The plan is to fill this up with just a little bit of water. I have my Mimic goat hair brush in here that's really soft. And I have my gesso. And I'm going to put a little bit of this gesso in this water. Not quite a 1-to-1, probably 2-to-1. So 2-part gesso, 1 part water, if not a little thicker. And then I have my spray bottle. I'm going to wet the surface of my panel first. Mix all this together. Use this brush to put that mixture of the gesso water onto my big surface. And the reason why I'm diluting my gesso is I've found that bigger surfaces like this require a little bit more glide, and I don't want anything to get stuck and clumpy on such a abrasive surface. So that is what I'm gonna try. And I got this cool like foldable bucket. So practical. Awesome. Okay, here we go. We're gonna let we're gonna let this dry, and then we'll do another coat. this dry and do another coat. I got 4 layers on this board. It's just so big. And it's doing pretty good. There's a couple of things that I did want to show. So you can kind of see some imperfections here. There's like 2 spots like this that they kind of are bubbly. I don't really know what that's about. So it's almost like, yeah. There's obviously, I think you could probably like chip that out and then put wood filler to get rid of that warp. But I think I'm not too concerned about it. There's another one up here. Yeah, right in there. And it's kind of squishy. They obviously put some wood filler here, and that's starting to show. And yeah, just kind of like the edge. It's not like the cleanest, but I will be putting on that clay recipe on this board, and I was just using the gesso to make sure that it's sealed, that the clay recipe will sit on top and not get absorbed into the wood, and that this is just acting like a barrier. And so this will be more kind of just like another coating, and I think these imperfections down here will be hidden. This will probably still show through along with this one up here, but I think it's going to be okay. We are back at it again, heating up my clay board recipe. I think I have just enough for this panel that I'm about to do. This is the square one, pretty pumped. I got it ready with that gesso. This one has 3 layers. It seems to be pretty sealed. I got my supplies. Alrighty. I am about ready to apply my second layer to this panel. I'm waiting for the shine, the glisten of it still being wet to disappear. It doesn't have to be bone dry, but dry enough to where when I put on the other layer, the bottom layer is not going to catch and come up. And I am keeping my recipe on the stove, boop, on a low temp and not allowing it to simmer. And it's going to be about between 104 Fahrenheit to 140. That way the rabbit skin glue stays really nice, melted, and everything is just flowing really, really well. I only need like 5 layers, but since I'm putting this on so thin, I'll probably up it. I think I read you don't want to go more than 8. Oh no, I might need some more. Wow, I thought I had enough for this round. Ooh, I have like enough for one more go on that panel. I only have enough mixture for 5 layers. I was hoping to get a little bit more, but I have to make more clayboard ingredient recipe, whatever solution. So I'm going to do the last layer and call it for today, and then maybe pick it back up tomorrow, and of course do the other panel with a lot more of the recipe. Alright, I just made a whole new jar of my clayboard recipe, and as a refresher of what's in it, it's kaolin clay, calcium carbonate or like a chalk, and rabbit skin glue, and gesso, and a little bit of water. It's put it all together and just making sure that those chalk and kaolin clay particles are basically broken up really good. There's no clumps. And then I gotta put 5 layers of this stuff on a panel board. I have my last panel board, I think, the really, really big one, the 40 inch by 30 inch that I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna do that really quick, and then I gotta wait a couple days to let these cure. All right, fun times. Voila! And now I let it dry. As I am prepping these panels, I have some thoughts. So applying the gesso and then even the clayboard recipe probably would be a lot easier if I just used a short-haired, like, sponge roller, paint roller, like you would use for your room or something, for walls. Probably a lot easier, smooth. Yeah. I have my 4 panels that I've prepped with my clayboard recipe. This one will be overthinking. That one already has a hand on it. That's for time. This one will be generations. And this one will be paying it forward. So they're pretty good in size. I have one more that I need to make that will be similar, just a little bigger than this one, kind of like an in-between size of those two. I couldn't find a board that I liked online, so I'm going to give it another go to search and get something. I'm about to go to Jerry's to pick up some more watercolor ground. I'm going to be putting some watercolor ground on top of my clay board. Watercolor ground is kind of like a mixture that's similar to like putting liquid paper on a surface. This one I plan to do white, and I'm going to make it to where it's similar to this piece up here. This one is just gesso and then watercolor ground on top. I liked this one was good, but then because of the gesso underneath, I don't know, it just felt like it was kind of hard to paint on, not necessarily that enjoyable. I'm going to try the clay board recipe and then the watercolor. I'm going to try the clay board recipe and then the watercolor ground on top. I think this will give me similar results, but make the painting process a little more enjoyable. Here's an example of what that would look like. I did a tiny little mock-up. This is gonna be more detailed than what I planned to make those hands, but you can kind of see how it keeps its shape while being watery. It almost looks like instead of it being painted, it's like colored pencil. I don't know. I like it, and this has, I think, a little bit more what I'm going for than this piece up here. This one was really great for what it is, but since I probably need a little bit more structure for the overthinking piece, that's why I'm doing it like this. Clayboard, watercolor ground. And if you're wondering what it would look like if it was just the clay board without the ground on top, this is not necessarily my recipe, but it's a pretty close representation of what I would get. I did another experiment, and this is the DaVinci Aqua panel board, which is its own clay board. And you can see how it's definitely got way more blooms. It's way more watery. It looks a little patchy. And this is beautiful in its own way, but not quite what I'm going for. Even though that last ground had a little bit more control in it, I plan to do the overthinking piece with a lot more water and allow that to bloom and get a little more messy. But I want a greater sense of control than what I would get with just the clay board recipe. And then I want it to be more enjoyable to paint on than just having the gesso and then the ground. I know that seems a little complicated, but honestly, the act of painting, if it's not enjoyable, then like what's the point, right? Even though it's gonna look cool, I want every step of the process to be enjoyable. And some things require a little bit more work, a little bit of finagling, but in the end, especially with a larger piece, it's totally worth it. All right, thank you for joining me as I went through my whole process of prepping these panels. This is a really big step. It is the foundation for all of these pieces, and there's going to be some slight variation between them. Like I just said, some with clay board with the ground, some without, but they all have the clay board recipe that I've created on these pieces. All I gotta do really is kind of sand a few rough patches, get them pretty even, get them to a texture that I'm looking for, which will just be mainly in the sanding, and then I'll be ready to rock and roll. This coming week, I plan to start on a painting. It'll most likely be time. I already have that piece drawn out on that board, and it should be
kind of the most fun to execute anyway, the most freestyle. So I'm really excited to just kind of get that one going, and it'll be a really great jump start into just the overall like enjoyment of this whole collection. Okay, so until next time, please like and subscribe if you are enjoying these videos. Your support means so much to me. I want to continue showing just the behind the scenes process, and I want you to engage with me on maybe what are you looking for in these videos. If there is something that you want to learn or you have questions about in my own process or something, then let's talk. I really just want this to be kind of a community building opportunity on YouTube more than just me, like, I don't know, trying to get famous with a couple bucks. So let's do some art together. I can't wait to show you what I got cooking.
Thank you for watching.